Shalom, YouTube. Today we will be discussing the oldest religion, which is essentially Proto-Judaism. What I mean by Proto-Judaism? Well, Judah is where the word Judaism comes from, the kingdom of Judah. Jerusalem is in the territory of Judah, and Jerusalem is the house of God ever since about 1,000 before Christ, the King Solomon. King Solomon built a house for God, and the glory of God dwells in Solomon's temple, which is currently known as Al-Aqsa Mosque until this day. 1 Kings chapter 8 and 9. Chapter 9 explains where God says, my name, my eyes, and my heart will be here forever. So, Judaism, Judah, Jerusalem. However, it was the same religion ever since Moses. The religion has not changed, except for with Christ. Christ added a few things to Judaism, like the crucifixion, the Last Supper, baptism. Well, actually, baptism came from John the Baptist. But essentially, it's the same religion. A few little pieces added, but Jesus was very clear: keep the law of Moses until heaven and earth passes away. We are expected to keep every last bit of the law of Moses, including the burnt sacrifices. Proto-Judaism. So before Judah, before Moses, before the kingdom of Judah, before Moses, they had the same religion. We can see from all the way back to Cain and Abel. Abel gave burnt sacrifices of lamb to God. This is something that we see in the law of Moses. This is something we see from Abraham as well. Abraham gave burnt sacrifices, and he essentially wrote down many instructions for his sons. This is in the book of Jubilees. I don't know if we still have these instructions. We have some of the instructions that his grandchildren have. Let's get into the testaments of the 12 patriarchs real quick. Now, this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't believe it's in the Ethiopian Bible, but the book of Jubilees is in the Ethiopian Bible. And the book of Jubilees was considered canonical by the Hasmonean dynasty, which came about after the destruction in the books of Maccabees. After the Greeks, after the Macedonian Empire tried to exterminate Judaism off the face of the planet, destroy the religion, destroy the practitioners, force them to worship Zeus, force them to live like heathens, pagans. When that failed, when they came back to their religion, they rebuilt everything. When they re-cleansed the temple, they returned to the religion. The Hasmonean dynasty succeeded, and they had to basically decide what was canonical, what wasn't. And they took the book of Jubilees as canonical, and the Herodian dynasty replaced the Hasmonean dynasty, and we all know what Herod was about. But it's important to note that these burnt sacrifices have existed since at the very latest, since Cain and Abel. Jesus gave burnt sacrifices in Luke chapter 2. Moses gave us the instructions for burnt sacrifices from God. God actually told Moses from the burning bush, Exodus chapter 3, you will tell Pharaoh to let the Jews go, let my people go out for 3 days that they may give me burnt sacrifices. Now, once you understand the law of Moses, it becomes very clear who is following God and who isn't, because the Muslims like to claim that Islam is the world's oldest religion. However, they don't keep the burnt sacrifices. They don't drink wine, but we can see that Noah gave burnt sacrifices. Noah drank wine. Abraham gave burnt sacrifices. Abraham drank wine, and Jesus gave burnt sacrifices, and Jesus drank wine. And from Noah to Jesus is a period of like almost 3,000 years. So if they believe in Jesus and Noah and Abraham, then they should believe in their religion. And their religion is vastly different from the Arabian paganism that is Islam. They can claim that Islam is a monotheistic religion all they want to. The fact is that Islam comes from polytheistic, Quraysh, pagan Arabian mythologies. Hubal and Allah are the same God. It is a polytheistic God of the Kaaba. It was never built by Abraham. This is all propaganda. We know Islam is not the true religion because they don't keep the law of Moses. They don't keep the proto-Judaism that existed before Moses. They don't keep what Abraham kept. They don't keep what the book of Jubilees says. They don't keep what the testaments of the 12 sons of Jacob said. They don't keep what Noah said. They don't keep any of this stuff. Yeah, okay, they don't eat pork, but they do eat camel, and camel is also an unclean animal. They eat shellfish. Shellfish is unclean. So if you're not going to eat pork, you shouldn't eat any of the other stuff that's also unclean. You know, they don't drink wine, but Jesus, Abraham, and Noah all drank wine canonically in the Bible, as well as many others, I'm sure. What else do they do? They circumcise on the 13th year instead of on the 8th day like God instructed to Abraham. So Islam is the appearance of Judaism, but it is not Judaism. It is not the religion that existed before Moses. It is not the religion Jesus followed, which is the law of Moses. It's not the religion that existed before Moses, which is Proto-Judaism. Abraham received some instructions, Noah received some instructions, Adam received some instructions. And essentially, God keeps adding to these instructions. From the very beginning, there was one instruction: don't eat the fruit. Adam and Eve broke that. God gave them some instructions which are not recorded in the Bible, but obviously he gave them some instructions. And one of those instructions was to give burnt sacrifices. And we see some more instructions in Noah's time, and we see some more instructions in Abraham's time, and we see a very comprehensive list of instructions that is very, very well recorded in Moses' time. The law of Moses, book of Deuteronomy. You can read all the law in Deuteronomy, some of it in Exodus, some of it Leviticus, some of it in Numbers. But for the vast majority of the law, you can read about it in Deuteronomy. And that was it. That was the law. From the days of Moses until Jesus, the law was unchanged. Jesus added a few things to the law, and that was it. He fulfilled the law. He completed it. He perfected it on the cross. And then Islam and Mormonism took away from the law, changed everything, said the law of Moses was no longer necessary, said the law of Moses was corrupted, that the Gospels were corrupted, and that a new prophet was going to fix everything. Well, if it doesn't look like what Moses was doing, if it doesn't look like what Abraham was doing, if it doesn't look like what Abel was doing, if it doesn't look like what Noah was doing, it's not from God. Jesus kept the law of Moses. He was not a heretic. Moses kept the rules that Abraham had, and he received more instructions from God. And essentially that's how it went back to the very beginning. If we will not keep the law of Moses, we will not be able to defend our religious beliefs, because Muslims do a very good imitation of the true religion. However, they don't keep it. They worship a rock, they pray to a rock, they pray to a polytheistic house, the Kaaba. They pretend they believe in Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, but they don't follow their religion. And if you don't know the religion of Jesus, how will you be able to defend yourself against people who imitate the religion of Jesus better than you do?